Unsyndicated presents Shep and Sean, featuring Matt Shepard and Sean Belegian.
He's Shep, I'm Sean. Hi. So normally we do this Monday, Shep. It was really weird. Like the Wi-Fi just zapped out and they said, well, it'll be back in like 24 hours or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, this Iranian-Israeli conflict is hitting us back here and everything. Are you following any of that, by the way? It is.
Just some night pictures of a lot of lights in the sky.
Good evening, Tom. It is. Do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me. Do you remember the Iraq War, the Baghdad Bob stuff? There's a lot of Tehran Tom stuff going on right now. It's amazing how that works itself out, especially in this day and age of social media. What do you think of the finals? But go ahead, finish that thought.
No, it's totally different now than when my brother was over there, or when people were. Wolf Blitzer made his name.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? You're just not going to get away with the lies that maybe you got away with before. When videos show the direct opposite, you're just not going to get away with stuff, and it's kind of funny how that works.
There are plenty of people out there still telling me what I'm seeing isn't real.
We're gonna have a show one day. You know what? Let me get a few whiskeys in me one day, and we are gonna have a show. And I'm not gonna hold back. I'm so tired of it.
As long as you don't shave, wear a hat, and pack a dip, then we can sit down and talk.
Freebird's going to play in the background the whole time.
Grow my hair long, put an earring in, have a cowboy hat, and pretend like I know what the hell I'm doing.
Panthers are sick, man. There's no other way. Congratulations, the Florida Panthers. Left no doubt about it. Shep, although this series was only 6 games, I thought it was a heck of a lot better than the series last year. 3 overtime games, 3 games where Florida, was the best. Last year, if you remember, it was Florida dominance for 3, Edmonton dominance for 3, and then game 7. Yeah. I thought the series was better, but at the end of the day, Florida made no mistake about it, the best team in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, I also felt during the series that Florida was the best team on a regular basis.
Yep.
Much more consistent. You said it before the playoffs started. They're just really hard to play against. I hope more teams, specifically the Red Wings, look at that team and recognize a couple of things. A, the depth is so vital, okay? I know people like to use cliches in sports, but there's a reason we use them. We use them because they're effective and because they're oftentimes true.
Yep.
More oftentimes than not. The sandpaper for which they play, or with which they play, I think is so evident. And the other is, you don't need, it's interesting. I talked about this morning. Do you need superstars in hockey? Go back and I want you to find me the last NBA champion that didn't have a superstar or 2 on it. In hockey, did Vegas have any superstars?
No. I don't think they did.
Because would you consider anybody on Florida a superstar? Really good players I would like. I'd like Alexander Barkov, right? You like certain. Sam Reinhart has come up big. Sam Bennett won the Conn Smythe, right? Seth Jones is a good player. Matthew Tkachuk I really like. It's hard to be a superstar when you score 25 goals. So I think that's what you can learn from this too. Tell me if I'm wrong. They remind me ever so slightly of some of the championship Piston teams that we've had. Guys accepting roles, guys who understand there's depth and you need deep benches to win. And even this year's Tigers team. Who's the superstar outside of Tarik Skubal? And maybe for Florida, it's Sergei Bobrovsky. But everybody else is a really good player. They're just not the superstar.
You know what? I would say I think there's a difference. Really good player is a great term to use, because somebody asked me today, our mutual friend, Jack Ebling, And he said, where would the Red Wings' best players rank on both these rosters? And he used the example of both these rosters. And obviously with Edmonton, it starts with Connor, who best player in the game, no doubt about it. I won't hear any other argument. Leon Draisaitl, obviously. And I would put them well down the list of the Panthers. And I'll tell you why I would put them well down the list with the Panthers. It's a lot of that intangible stuff that maybe doesn't show up on the score sheet. It's as you were saying with Matthew Tkachuk, okay? I don't think Matthew Tkachuk is the guy that's going to put up bombastic numbers. I just don't, okay? I'll go to war with him. Sam Bennett. If Sam Bennett decides to leave Florida, okay? Mm-hmm. Sam Bennett could probably get a massive contract from somebody. And then their dumb as hell fan base would cry their eyes out when Sam Bennett only put up 55 points in the regular season.
That's right. That's right.
They'd cry. What? We're paying this guy $11 million for fifth. And Shep, he could get it if he so decides to leave. And a lot of the stuff that they do, you brought up Barkov. Barkov's a great example. I don't think Barkov gets the due that he deserves. Now, I'm going to stick by this. McDavid was hurt. We're going to find out soon. There's no doubt in my mind. He was not as explosive this series as he was before. We'll find out. That stuff always comes out. But Barkov had a little something to do with that as well. He
was hurt too.
The love.
He was hurt. He had the laceration in the hand.
Yeah. No.
Matthew Tkachuk had what? It was the hip, right? Where the
abductor tore from the bone.
So they're all playing hurt. I'm not taking anything from Connor McDavid. You know how much I love him. But you're right. I mean, for the Red Wings, if that's what you're referring to, far down the list for Florida, I hope they all recognize that it's the little things. How oftentimes did you see an Edmonton Oiler get away from a guy?
Yep.
How heavy was Florida playing in all three zones for most of every single game?
Yep.
There was no comfort whatsoever. When you said this before their very first series, that they just wear on you, I think that was your word. Mm-hmm. They just lean on you. They body on you. And it wears you out. Maybe at the end of game one, maybe you're able to get through it until game 5 or 6, but definitely game 7. And the famous clip of Paul Maurice, on his bench. It's awesome. That's exactly who they are. And when you don't have stars, you don't have superstars, I should say, that's how you're going to have to play. Why do we accept that Detroit can win with chaos, last year? Everybody got wrapped up in that. Why do we accept that the Pistons of 2004 can win with defense, right? And no all-stars. But we can't accept that the Red Wings have to conform to a style of play in which Florida played because Detroit doesn't have the 50-goal scorer.
Yeah. It was great, Tom. You and I talked about this a couple months ago. Their puck possession really does harken back to the Babcock days. It really does. That was such a calling card, Shep, if you remember, in the late aughts of that Detroit Red Wing team. And it really was, I can still see that smug, I'm going to bite my tongue. I can still see that smug guy going, well, they can't score if we're holding on to the puck, in Babcockian manners and everything. Their puck possession, when they played keep away, I thought all 6 games followed the exact same trend. Mm-hmm. Every one of them, okay? Mm-hmm. Florida came out and flexed their muscle and said, tonight's going to be different. Yeah. And it was 3 or 4 minutes, 5 minutes, maybe 6 minutes. And then everything settled down and it was Florida's game. Mm-hmm. It just was. It was Florida's game. And it was Florida dictating the terms. I loved what Tkachuk said last night. I don't know if you heard that line. He said, the difference between our two teams, I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember the exact quote, but I hope you get the gist of it. He said, when things go south for those guys, they look at one guy. When things go south for us, we look down the bench. And that is a factual. It could be Lundell. It could be Barkov. It could be Reinhart. It could be Bennett. It could be Ekblad. Somebody's going to find a way on that bench. And it really, I think it's awe-inspiring. I like watching the way they play. I like watching Tkachuk stick in somebody's throat almost on a nightly basis while he's chewing on his mouthpiece like you were chewing on your fruit salad. It's outstanding to me, Shep. I really enjoy watching Florida play. I'm not going to run out and grab a Panthers hat or anything like that and a Panthers foam finger. I enjoy watching their style of play and Paul Maurice at the helm.
I will also say this for a guy who I did not like at all in Boston, I really grew to respect
Funny.
Brad Marchand in Florida
Yes.
and just how gritty he was. Like Sam Bennett wins it because he had 15 playoff goals. He had 7 goals in the finals. The last person to do that was Gretzky in the mid 80s. And there's not many guys who've ever done it. Okay. And he's the only guy, I believe, to have not scored 30 in a regular season, but scored 15 or more in the postseason. That tells you something about the clutch that he would. But Brad Marchand going into that game last night, 10 goals, 10 assists in 22 playoff games. He was pretty inspirational, I think, for everybody, and seemed to, along your lines of what you were just describing, seemed to fit in. You want to look down Carter Verhaeghe, you're ready? Okay. Brad Marchand, you're ready? They're all ready. That was the beauty of it. Yeah.
Yep. No doubt about that. Let me tell you about All About Catering LLC, full service caterer. Graduation season. Hey, did you find somebody yet? I got a perfect selection for you. Why don't you try these guys? Weddings, bridal showers, corporate events, anything you need catering for from 25 to 4,000 people. All About Catering can and will take care of you. Customer service and satisfaction is their number one goal. Don't sweat your next big event. Just go to allaboutcateringllc.com today to see their menus and all their 5-star reviews. Give them a call, 586-731-1398 to get your event started. Now, can we go back to what you were saying about superstars? Because what I got from this 2 years in a row, all right, and I'm being serious when I say this, is how the bleep did the Edmonton Oilers get to the Stanley Cup Finals 2 years in a row with what they have around that guy? And I'm not being funny, all right?
Why?
Well, let me tell you why. Number one, their goaltending. Okay, it's mediocre.
I was just going there. Yep.
Okay. Number two, there are 3 living, breathing pylons in their own end. 3. If I hear one more person talk up gritty Jake Wallman, I'm going to puke out my nostrils.
Amen.
He's a joke. I'm sorry. It's Darnell Nurse is a passenger. He loves watching play. And let me tell you something. Evan Bouchard is a heck of an offensive weapon. That guy gets walked more than my dog. Honestly, Shep, I sit back and I'm like, I'm watching this stuff the past few days, and my buddies and I are just laughing. And, the cool thing about the technology today, you can rewind things. And you sit back and you go, what's he doing? Look, what is Bouchard doing right there? Now, don't get me wrong. Evan Bouchard is a really capable defenseman in today's National Hockey League because of the boots bomb, because of him, being able to jump in the play and really create things. But when you have 2 mediocre goalies and 3 guys on your blue line, that there's no other way to say it, Shep. They're detriments in their own zone. Tip of the cap to Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. I am so serious when I say that.
Well, and Corey Perry played well for them.
He sure did.
And Zach Hyman, the loss of Zach Hyman was big. I don't think it would have made the difference.
Neither do I, but it was huge. It was.
It was huge. Bouchard's the perfect kind of guy. I like him a lot. He's the perfect kind of guy to play with a stay-at-home defenseman who's pretty good. The other 2 guys you can have, and you can have Evander Kane too, because I don't know if there's a more undisciplined player in the entire playoffs than that dude. Like if Zach Hyman was healthy, Evander Kane might get benched. Like they needed somebody to elevate their game. I hate the phrase, you got to step up. Oh, no kidding. But they needed somebody to elevate their game. They didn't have anybody outside of Corey Perry who really did that. To help Draisaitl and McDavid.
You bring up another guy, and I was very fortunate. I got a chance to see him in London, and I hated his guts. Shout out to Dale Hunter. I got a chance to see Corey Perry when he was in London, and they were the Whalers' big rival. I hated his guts, hated him, okay? You don't appreciate a guy like that until he comes and plays for your team, and you see what that rat does on a night-in, night-out basis with his rat face. Because when he's your rat, it's like Ben and Willard. Sorry, I showed my age here. Shep, I'm just betting my little rat, just going, Ben, you're such a good boy. And, and then you trade him and he turns on you, right? Honestly, or you don't re-sign him as it is. If you can't respect Corey Perry's game, I don't know what to tell you. I really enjoy his game.
Yeah. Really solid addition for that team. Just like, I don't think Bill Zito gets nearly enough credit for Florida.
No.
The 2 additions he got with Seth Jones and with Brad Marchand is exactly what that team needed. They fit in perfectly. It goes to show you, you don't always have to trade for the biggest names. You have to trade for players who you think are going to be productive in your system.
Right.
And that's exactly what he did.
Yeah. It is.
They're well run, man. They're a well run organization.
Hey, and listen, do I have any faith in the goaltending tandem right now for the Detroit Red Wings? Now, things could change, but as I sit here today on June 18th or whatever the hell it is, Shep, right now, okay, it looks like Cam Talbot and Peter Mrazek will be the 2 Red Wing goaltenders. Okay, something might change. I don't know. But to play the devil's advocate and in the interest of being fair, Calvin Pickard and Stu Skinner just made it to the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And again, I know somebody's going to say, I can't believe you're sticking up for Steve, but I know there are a lot of people out there that don't feel like you need to put the premium on the goaltenders like you had to not too long ago in this.
Yeah, I say Tim Thomas won a cup and was the Conn Smythe winner. Okay. So it's doable. It's what you have in front of them. Those 2 men also have 2 of the top 5 players in the world in front of them, helping them. Detroit doesn't have anything close to that, unfortunately.
Nope.
Just because, with all due respect to Lucas Raymond, just because he was one of the first ones chosen for Team Sweden in the Olympics doesn't mean that he's the equivalent to Leon Draisaitl or Connor McDavid. I don't think Draisaitl gets enough credit. Don't kid yourself. I mean, you know this. I mean, you've said this forever. Goaltending is really important, but you can get by with good goaltending instead of very good to great goaltending if you've got the really talented people in front. They don't have that.
4 overtime winners for Draisaitl. I mean, enough. Who does that? Nobody.
In the playoffs. And by the way, he didn't have 1 in his career until the 4.
Isn't that amazing? I want to talk about some of the points that Eric made up, and Mark brings up a point. But if you're ready to take charge of your financial future, look no further than those 2 handsome guys right there. I'm sorry to my buddy on the right, Jeff Husak. He is pissed at the world that his Oilers lost, but he can help you make some money. They have 20 years of industry experience. They understand your financial goals are as unique as you are. Doesn't matter where you're at in life. You're starting out. You just got yourself a house. Maybe you're planning for college. These guys will help you as they help me.
Maybe you got a second house like Sean does.
Yes. Maybe you have 2 furnaces in your house. Some of us have 2 furnaces in our house, okay? And the air conditioning just runs all day. Money just flying out the window. You guys will help make you.
You got me. You got me, man. That's a good one. That's a really good one. That you pulled that one out. Good job.
Work with clients throughout all stages of life and have clients in over 20 different states. The investment world is a complex one. So if you start taking your finances more seriously, these are the guys to talk to. That's Mike Husak on the left, Jeff Husak on the right, the Wealth Advantage Group. Give them a call, 248-773-8574. Check out their website at www.thewealthadv.com. That's the www.thewealthadv.com. Hi, Alex. The Edmonton depth. Hold on. Where did I want to get back to that? Eric, and I'll get to the Yankees are really struggling, by the way.
The Edmonton depth went away, old man Perry and Kapanen, except for old man Perry and Kapanen. I don't know. I mean, yeah.
You just get worn down.
True. That's probably true. Yeah.
It was like total maple leaf. We're just going to lean on you. We're going to lean on you. It might not be today. It might not be game 2. It might not be game 3. We're eventually going to wear you out. Yeah. And that's what those guys do.
Right. Yeah, and Mark is so right when Mark says he follows that up and says wings are a long way away. Absolutely. That's the one. I'm glad he brought that up. That's the one thing that was glaring to me. I don't care if you're watching Edmonton. Watching both these teams, I'm going, holy crap, look at how far away this team is. Brutal.
Shep, and I get a lot of business being a Habs fan, but I'm going to say it again. I think you have 2 things working against the Red Wings right now. Number one, their roster as is, because there are a lot of good players. Is there a next level there? ... they are just in the absolute wrong division right now. I mean, you have Florida, who we've sat here for 20 minutes just going crazy over what Florida does, and there's no reason to believe that they're going away anytime soon. You have Tampa, which you know as well as I do, John Cooper's not going to let them fall off the map. You have Toronto, who's going to have a good regular season and will fail miserably in the playoff. And then you have
We're going to lose some guys, though. Let's see how they replenish.
And then you have Montreal and Ottawa, who, although their rebuild started a little later, I think have done a better job of the Red Wings than the Red Wings right now. So being in this division right now really works against the Red Wings. I think that's a factor that not a lot of people are talking about. This division is the best division in hockey. I will plant my flag in no problem. I'll take the Atlantic Division over anybody else.
I don't disagree with you, man. So it's bad timing, but they got to do something about it. And like Mark says, terrace, sinkhole, and hole are awful. You need to get rid of guys like that.
Yep. How's the weather where you guys are at? We had the storm today, Shep, and I guess another one's coming in, right? I think
supposedly,
another one's coming in.
Supposedly.
Does Chris Sale either Yankees or Tigers? That's an interesting one, right? That's an interesting one.
Why do we think Boston's just going to automatically sell off? Why do we think that? In Atlanta, he's saying Atlanta.
He's saying Sale. I don't think Boston is, by the way. I for the record, I don't Sale obviously in Atlanta, but I don't think Boston's. I think Boston got rid of a guy they had to get rid of. Shep, is that the best way to say it?
Yeah. So a couple of things. Yankees going into game tonight after losing 4-0 to the Angels last night have lost 5 in a row, 3 straight shutouts. And which, as I watched a little bit of that game last night, I thought to myself, the Tigers really haven't had that stinker of a stretch. If you want to call the first 3 games of the year against the Dodgers, go ahead. But they really haven't, they haven't lost many series, but they haven't gone into lulls like this. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's number one. I don't know if Atlanta feels like, we've got to get rid of Chris Sale. That's a hard thing for me to try and determine because Atlanta's got so many good players there. Boston got rid of Devers because he wouldn't move positions. It's a huge contract. There's a problem. Maybe it's a pissing contest. General manager, owner, John Henry, Devers, I don't know. They did get a lot in return. Okay. So they got 2 high-end prospects. One's a pitcher. They got a reliever, Jordan Hicks, at the end. So they got 4 players overall. And then, of course, we all know what Devers did last night, doubled and singled. Drove in a run, even though San Francisco lost. Buster Posey's doing some things there that I think a lot of Tigers fans are envious of. Goes outside William Adames, extends Matt Chapman, trades for Rafael Devers. Detroit's not going to do something like that. Perhaps they don't have to do something like that. But I'd be surprised if Atlanta sells off Chris Sale. And I'd love to know if they do, what you'd have to give up for him.
Shep, and let me take it a step further. And I know you and I talked about this before. It hit me, I don't know, a month and a half, 2 months ago. There isn't anybody in the American League that sends that shiver down my spine. I'm sorry. There just isn't. And I of course, we all, as you and I talked about, I think when we were together last week, of course, let's see who's available. We're still a long way away from there. And B, what is legitimate? Because I'm with you. The huge names, there's no reason for me to believe that the huge names and the huge contracts are going to end up here in Detroit. I have no reason. Maybe Christopher Illich proves me wrong. Okay. I'll be the first guy to tip my cap and say, great. I have no reason to believe that. But with that being said, all we can do is base what we think might happen on what is happening today. I look at the rest of the American League. Shep, honestly, there's everywhere.
The strength is in the National League. There's no doubt about
1,000%.
that.
1,000%.
The Mets and the Phillies, the Dodgers, the Padres. Yeah, those are strong teams. The American League East isn't as strong as it used to be. We know that. Houston's not that juggernaut, although they've played better baseball as of late. Seattle kind of faded a little bit, so you're wondering if Seattle's going to be a buyer or a seller. Even the Guardians aren't there. So Detroit, I think, stands out, no doubt. I would ask you this. If you're Houston, if you're New York, even though New York's not going in a great way right now, are you shivering in your shoes about Detroit or anybody else? I mean, Detroit,
No.
the thing that really impresses me about the Tigers, Sean, is they've had guys for extended periods of time on the IL, and they've overcome it.
Mm-hmm.
Bierling, Meadows, Torres just was on for a short period of time. Olsen, now Vest, Mize, Job is gone. Still haven't seen Alex Cobb. Those were supposed to be key guys, and they're able to play through that and have the best record in baseball. That's what other teams should be really concerned about.
Eric, we did talk about the Yankees. They've lost 5 straight. They've been shut out 3 straight. They're losing right now 1-0. So we did talk about it.
People will freak out about them. I mean,
Q-tip, water, here.
Yeah.
Here, get that out there. Let me tell you about Legacy Partner. Did you know that thousands of Metro Detroiters have already called Legacy Partners to get help with their home and auto insurance? Our friends at Legacy are one of Southeast Michigan's top independent insurance agents. They provide a full-service, one-stop solution for all of your insurance needs, personal and business, large and small. When I say personal business, man, they take care of you. There's no other way to say that. They will call you and let you know of impending things. True story. Alex did that with me and my family a couple weeks ago. Boom, 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 move some things around. What we thought was going to be a big raise, he ended up saving us money. That is the Legacy difference. What are you waiting for? Give Legacy a chance to help with your home, your cars, life insurance, Medicare enrollment, or your business insurance needs. Call them today. 586-209-4106. Visit legacypartnersins.com to get started with your new quote. Troy Terry supposedly on the block, $7.5 million for a 60-point guy in a terrible team. Anaheim looking to make room for Marner. Detroit should make a move to package 13th overall for Gibson and Terry. Anaheim gets their cap space and a cheaper goalie. Around the same talent. Detroit gets their top 6 forward and a goalie that needs a change of scenery. I thought that was funny when Steve Yzerman said, when the report came out, Steve Yzerman was in the goalie market but no, what would make you say that?
What about Drew saying, okay, ridiculous hypothetical and only based on personal preference?
All right.
It'll never happen. These are your favorites, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
What trio would you rather have join the Wings, given the choice?
Okay.
Robertson, Byram, Baser, or Paterko, Bennett, Gavrikov?
The first 3. I'll take the first 3.
Yeah. Jason Robertson can score.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why Dallas isn't going to get rid of him.
I don't think so either. I don't. I'll believe it when I see it.
He's a free agent, so he's attainable.
I'll believe it when I see it. No other way to say that. I'll believe it when I see it, because I mean, I get it if they said, well, you know what, we're more interested in some help up the middle as opposed to a winger. I still don't get that. I don't, especially at his age. I don't get
what
that.
Do they need more than anything else? So I've asked this question about the Tigers right now, even though they've got the best record in baseball. Do they need a reliever, a starter, a right-handed stick, or a third baseman? Okay. And most people would say a right-handed stick, which surprised me, at least when I put this out on a poll question. If I were to ask you the Wings, they need a goalie, a number 1 center, or a number 1 defenseman, what would you say?
Gosh. Six of one, half a dozen of the other with a goalie and a number 1 center. I hate to cop out like that. I'll legitimately say 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Augustine could be that guy.
That's a long wait, bud.
That's
didn't we think the same thing about Kosa? Why wouldn't he be in the mix next year?
This guy didn't. I think, Shep, I know I said this to you in the past. I think that he was going to be the guy before the guy. That was.
Yeah, but he's still a first-round pick, okay? He's still a mid-first-round pick.
And I just don't think it's going to happen. I could be wrong.
No, you're probably right, because you would think it would have happened by now.
Yeah, he's struggled. He's just struggled.
Yeah, he was pulled in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
In Grand Rapids. That's a problem.
Geez, oh Pete. All right, you know what? I'll say number one center. How's that?
That's what I would say.
I'll say number one center.
And just out of curiosity, what would you say?
Center.
Yeah, I would say number one center. What would you say for Tigers?
Especially with Will Vest, a pen guy. Which again, I know you and I talked about this last week. The right-handed stick, I get it. Yes. I've seen it too many times. The pitching is just so integral. It's so integral come playoff time. And
I'm going to cheat. I would say a right-handed hitting third baseman. That way I combine two. I think you can turn. See, the beauty of baseball is you can turn starters into bullpen guys.
Yeah.
I said this 3 years ago. I thought Matt Manning would be a good guy coming out of the bullpen. And now they're starting to use him out of the bullpen. He's got good enough stuff early in games where he doesn't get beat up and it rides. He could be, forget the closer role, but he could be an effective weapon out of your bullpen. All right. So I think you can turn starters into bullpen arms. It's been proven for decades, for centuries, okay, in baseball. It's hard to acquire a right-handed power-hitting third baseman. And I'm not saying you can't, because Nolan Arenado wouldn't be considered that. I don't know how many right-handed power-hitting third basemen there are in the league. For crying. Austin Riley's not leaving Atlanta. Somebody asked about Chris Sale.
If only there was a guy that was a free agent in the offseason that we could have went and got. A right-handed third baseman.
Well, but they did make, in fairness, they made a hell of a pitch for him. And you can trade for Eugenio Suarez.
Yeah. Any chance I can get to be swarmy, I'm going to take it. So that was just me being.
Well, listen, me being swarmy 2 years ago was Matt Chapman.
Yeah,
but here's what I got. Then you're blocking Jace Young. Oh, God forbid.
Oh, don't
God forbid you do that.
No, don't you can't absolutely do that. So, you know what, Shep? It's interesting because I think you're right when you put it that way. It's almost like when we play the "You Be the GM" game. Mm-hmm. Nobody thinks about it from the other side. I guess I'm guilty of thinking about that. If I'm the Yankees, if I'm, the Astros, if I'm the Rangers right now that have championship pedigree that maybe haven't played up to their potential, I'm sitting there right now going, am I really supposed to be afraid of the Detroit Tigers? Yes, Skubal is going to be hard if we have to see him a couple times in a series. But am I really afraid of the Detroit Tigers? I think people might be shocked to hear the answer to that across.
Yeah, I think they deserve a lot of respect, and I think they get a lot of respect. I would also remind people, as much as I like Tarik Skubal, I think he's an unbelievable player. I want him on my team. I'm going to start him every chance I get in every big game. He's the number one. Okay, he did start the last game of the year last year against Cleveland.
Yep.
Okay, and they lost the game. So.
Yep.
You got to be careful when it comes to that stuff. You would think the Dodgers would want Clayton Kershaw in the big moment in the postseason. He doesn't have great postseason numbers. You would think the Yankees would want Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole struggled last year, okay, in the postseason. So those are the things that you got to be careful of with pitching-wise. I think you need, and this team's been really good. They had 4 homers last night, right? Baez had a couple. Green had one. Wenzel Perez had one. This team's been much better, Sean, with its slugging and its OPS. I'm really impressed with that. But you can never have enough, especially at that third base. That revolving door scares the living hell out of me. And the defense on that side of the infield scares the hell out of me as well.
That's one thing I think for the most part, over the weekend, notwithstanding, which looked like a Little League game in that 8th inning. One of my biggest fears, that was a Little League game, that 8th inning the other day. That was a joke. But that was one of my biggest fears was the defense. And I still don't think it's long-term viable. I just don't. We'll wait and see.
Well, it's been better than they've handled it better than look, I'll be the first to admit I was wrong about Gleyber Torres. I didn't like the signing. Mm-hmm. Okay. I thought he was all offense, no defense. He's been better than I thought. And offensively, he's been a gift. He really has been. I mean, he's going to be an all-star, and rightfully so. It's impressive when even the fans are voting. They haven't had a vote. They haven't voted in a Tiger since Miguel Cabrera in 2015. When you've got a guy like Gleyber Torres, Riley Green, Tarik Skubal headed for the all-star game, and I would remind people, not that he's an all-star, okay, so don't take this out of context, perhaps one of the more consistent players this team has had, most people don't even know outside of Detroit, and that's Dylan Dingler, okay? Leads the American League in caught stealing, batting about 280. I mean, it's pretty damn good. When you're replacing Jake Rogers, when Tarik Skubal is throwing to Dylan Dingler, that tells you something, right? And that's from an A.J. Hinch manager who knows what it's like to catch, so he believes in him. There's something to be said for that. Give that kid a ton of credit, man. He's not getting much pub, but he deserves more than he's getting.
Well, you know why. Jake's such a great guy, and he's got a fantastic mustache.
Plus, he does really good impersonations.
Oh, got to start him 3 times a week, man. Hey, when it comes time to getting yourself a house, you're buying, you're selling, more often than not both, you got to get the right agent. There she is, Lindsay Broadwell, right there. Your house is probably the biggest investment you'll ever make, and that's why you need a pro. Lindsay and her staff are all over Southeast Michigan now. They are experts in all facets of the business. When it's time to move, our friend Lindsay and her team will make sure you get the most out of your house and everything goes smoothly when finding your new home. Buyer, seller, even first-time buyer. Make sure you contact Lindsay at BroadwellHomes.com. She'll help you with everything from start to close. Licensed realtor at Real Broker LLC. Start your search today at BroadwellHomes.com. All right, Shep, anything else before we get out of here tonight?
Monday, I should have some stories for you since it's the golf outing this weekend with me and my buddies, many of whom I went to grade school with.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
There might be a story or two that I can't tell. You get my drift.
Dude, I don't care what anybody says. I'm a firm believer in this. That the dudes you knew way back when, there's just an unspeakable bond that you can't, like, nothing will ever break it. Like, I'm not trying to be cheesy. It's like, some of the guys that pop into my head, I might see them but once or twice a year. But like when you're back together, or God forbid anything bad happen, you pick up the phone, you call one of those cats, and they'll be like that. So
and you also pick up where you left off. Have you ever heard the song "You Can't Make Old Friends"?
Yeah,
it's so perfect. I mean, it really is. Whether you like that kind of music or not, it is so cool because there are certain guys, as many friends as you may have, you didn't know your family's back porch like that guy knew my family's back porch.
You
didn't play stickball in the street like we did. You didn't break the windows we broke. There's certain things you remember. I don't care how old you are. Certain things you remember from your childhood that sticks with you forever. That's the fun part about it. So yeah, we'll pick up right where we left off. Guys coming in from all over the country. We're going to enjoy Northern Michigan, and hopefully we don't make any headlines, if you get my drift.
God bless you, man. Have a blast.
All right, pal. Talk to you Monday. Thanks, Todd. We appreciate it as always, buddy.
All you guys, God bless. Talk to you soon.
Shep and Sean, featuring Matt Shepard and Sean Baligian. Executive produced by Sean Baligian and Todd Losey. Theme song, incidental music, and related sound effects are from Still Alive by Anti-Ghost. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the Unsyndicated Podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Call the Unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.